This is the Great North Wrestling Podcast, the official podcast of the Hannibal TV, Canada's #1 pro wrestling YouTube channel, with your host, three-time Canadian champion and GNW lead reporter, Devin Hannibal Nicholson.
On the line right now for the Hannibal TV podcast is Madman Pondo, who is a star, has been a star in Big Japan Pro Wrestling, CCW. He even worked for the Jerry Springer Show and appeared in many hardcore promotions and normal promotions all over the world. And he has a book out right now called Memoirs of a Madman. And maybe you can tell us where we can pick that up right off the bat here.
Right off the bat, you can pick it up at Amazon.com. It just became the #1 wrestling book for sale right now, which it's the newest one, so I guess that's why it's #1. So, but I'll take the title anyway. And then you can pick it up. You can contact John Cosper at EatSleepWrestle.com. He has normal copies, or you can get a personalized autographed copy through him. And that's where you can get a hold of the book.
And how
the book is, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to ask how he got in contact with you about doing the book in the first place.
He lives near me, and he was writing the wrestle, and he asked my couple of things, and I put a couple of paragraphs in the book. People started reading Eat, Sleep, Wrestle, and then they started saying, hey, you should do a book called Madman Pondo. So he approached me about it, and I was apprehensive because I really never think anybody has to care about what I have to say, but I don't know, he just kept it up, and finally I was like, alright, let's do it. And when I finally agreed to do the book, he was also doing Dr. D. David Schultz's book, which is available right now at the same two places. And so then the process took longer because he was on that book, and when he wasn't working on that book, he would work on mine. Finally, with all the Denny's visits, all the Roosters Restaurants visits, and his house visits, we got it done, and bingo, Memoirs of a Madman. And we had 3 boxes. We sold all 3 in the first week, and we've ordered 3 more. Amazon is impressed with the sales, and so pick it up. It's not just a wrestling book, though. There's so much more. There's comedy. I was in a comic book. It's in there. I like to mess with scammers on Facebook. There's a conversation of that in there. I've done things with Marilyn Manson. With the forward is from Vanilla Ice. Just all
How do you
kinds
know
of things
Vanilla
in this
Ice?
book.
How did you get in contact?
I'm sorry?
How did you get in contact with Vanilla Ice? Are you guys friends? Or?
Yes. Back in the day, for one of the Juggalo Championship Wrestling tours, they brought in Vanilla Ice, and me and him did a little thing in the ring where he hit me with a stop sign and stapled my forehead and stuff like that. Ever since that day, me and him's been cool. So if he ever came to the area, he would be like, hey, come out and come out to the concert. Or if we was at the gathering together, he would send somebody to come get me where we could talk. And then he came to Louisville for the I Love the 90s tour. He got me really good tickets, and then backstage to meet him afterwards. And I said, hey, would you want to do the forward of the book? And he agreed, and there he is. Vanilla Ice is the forward of the book, and he wrote a really good piece about me. So if he ever hears this, I just want to thank him for it.
I saw the season of The Surreal Life with him on it, and is that similar to his real personality, how he was portrayed on that show?
That whole throwing the drums and destroying the set and all that, I've never seen that out of him. Like, he was so cool and laid back. He's more worried about you than he is himself. He always makes sure if you're hot, you got something to drink. When I said something about being the forward, it wasn't just yes. It was, hell yeah, I would be fucking honored to do that. And I'm like, Vanilla Ice was honored to do something for me. No, that should be the other way around. But he's just so laid back and cool.
And I understand you know MC Hammer as well.
I don't know MC Hammer, but if you read the book, I made it on stage with MC Hammer, and I happened to have my camera in my pocket, and he was trying to get away from me. What he was trying to do was trying to do that hammer dance, that sideways thing.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I thought he was just trying to get away from me. So I put my hand on his shoulder, and I scooped him back to where I was. And then if you look in the book, there's that picture that I took on stage. He was horrified, and I looked happy as hell, and that's why.
That's hilarious. Was he still wearing the balloon pants, like in this day and age when he does concerts, or did he put those away?
Yeah, I guess he put them away. He had like tighter black pants on, I do believe. If you ever want to see the clip, you can go to TMZ and search MC Hammer on the Joes, and you'll see Madman Pondo doing the too legit to quit with his hands, you know, the holding up the two and cutting his hand across his neck, you know. I was an MC Hammer fan, so I knew that shit. And then being on stage with him was an honor. I got in a lot of trouble for doing it, but I have a picture that will last forever.
And I've seen a picture online of you and Dean Snyder from Twisted Sister. Was that just a random meeting, or do you know him at all?
Yeah, I don't know him. I went to a horror convention, and he was like the main guy, and I got my picture with Dean Snyder. Really nice guy. Not as tall as what I thought he would be.
Now, how did you get involved with Jerry Springer? A lot of people thought that was a legitimate show, and I understand that you were on there numerous times playing the roles of different guests.
I was on the show twice. I had not a podcast. I had a public access TV show here in the Louisville, Kentucky area called Skull Talk, and legit, it was me introducing wrestling matches with naked or topless girls sitting on my lap. And it just got so popular, there was a guy named Ace Craft who was watching the show and got a hold of me and said, hey, would you like to do the Jerry Springer show? And I said, sure, why not? So I took my girl, I took Two-Tech Cody and Mitch Page, and the first story we did, the girl was then Tony's girlfriend. I stole her from Tony, but then 400-pound Mitch Page stole it from both of us. So there's that first story. And then the second time I was on there, I had an 18-year-old girlfriend at the time. We took her mom on there, and I was supposedly with the mom, but I made the 18-year-old girl quit school so she can stay home and have sex with me all the time. So those times I was the heel on Jerry Springer. The crowd was interacting with me, yelling at me and stuff. And finally, they said, hey, we're looking for crazy people to be on the show. Do you know any crazy people? Well, you know as well as I do. We're in the wrestling business. We know a ton of crazy people. So I just started getting my friends and their friends on the show, and next thing I know, I was making a check out of the Jerry Springer show. So I'm very smashed to hear that Jerry Springer this year is his final season he's going to do. I think he's like a pop culture hero that I thought would just last forever, but I guess this is the last year for the Jerry Springer show.
I'm sorry to hear that, but we haven't got it up here in Canada for a while, so...
Oh, really?
Yeah,
you guys have Trailer Park Boys, though.
Yes, we do, yeah. Him interviewing the Trailer Park Boys would be a good episode, actually.
That would be great.
Now, speaking of crazy people, I mean, you must be pretty crazy yourself to be known mostly as a hardcore wrestler throughout your career. What made you go towards that direction of having a lot of hardcore matches as opposed to traditional matches?
I told myself a long time ago when I got into this business that I wasn't going to just be a wrestler. I wasn't just going to be one of the 40-milers that only wrestled in their hometown or only a handful of people knew. So I'm very good about figuring things out and how to do things. Well, do you remember the pay-per-views that they was having every week called In Your House for WWE?
Yes.
Me and a whole bunch of my friends would order those. And I noticed that after a while we wasn't even watching the TV anymore. We was just talking back and forth from each other. And of course we'd watch the main event, but unless there was a kick-ass match going on in between the beginning and the end, we really didn't pay that much attention. But I was a big tape trader back then. Are you familiar with tape trading?
Yes, before the internet, yeah. For anyone not old enough to remember this, there was no YouTube, so if you wanted to see matches from other areas of the world, you would have to trade tapes, and there was the wrestling magazines had like mailing addresses of various people that you could contact, and there was other ways, people you'd meet at shows and stuff like that.
And that's what I would do. Well, by tape trading, I got a hold of a whole bunch of Puerto Rico and Japan. And my favorite two was Masanada, Mr. Daniel Masanada, and Mr. Pondo.
Yeah.
After the pay-per-views was over, the guys would always say, hey, throw in one of them videotapes from Japan, and I would, and all eyes would be focused in on the TV. Like there would be no conversating in between it. Everybody was just Violet would happen. Masanada was laying on the ring, and Mr. Pondo poured something on his head, and then shot a fireball and caught his head on fire. Barbed wire bats, just violent stuff, and everybody in my house was just engulfed on the TV. Well, I told myself, my body is not great, my technical skills aren't the best, I can't high fly, I can do this shit, So to get my name out there, that's what I did. I started doing the death matches, and just like you said before the interview, you've heard my name, so I must have been doing something right back in the day for people to know who I am.
Yeah, definitely. Your name is known in wrestling, and I believe you were in a lot of the wrestling magazines, I guess, in the 90s. I remember
yeah.
About you.
And then I made it on a couple of video games, and, just all types of stuff, and it's all in the book. You'll be able to read all of it in the book.
Who brought you over to Japan for the first time?
Well, I was hoping you wouldn't ask me that. But in Overland, Missouri, I wrestled Abdullah the Butcher. And Abdullah told me, he said, look, I'm getting ready to go to Japan in 4 days, but I would love to take a videotape over there with you. And I said, do you think they would want me? And he said, most definitely they're going to want you. So I was in Overland, Missouri, and I lived in Flora, Illinois. I drove all the way home, fixed up a videotape, didn't sleep until I got it done, went to the post office that morning, overnighted it to his restaurant, and it showed up in 2 days. And he called me on the phone, and he said, damn, Chip, you really want to go to Japan, don't you? And I said, yes, sir, I do. So by the time he got home, he had a Japanese date for me, and I went from 2000 to 2008, and then took a long hiatus, and then they brought me back April, so 43 trips. I don't know how many tours that is. I had an Asian wife, so I would stay 3 months at a time, but 43 trips flying there and back to Japan for Big Japan Pro Wrestling.
Wow. Why do you think there's not as many jobs in Japan right now for Americans as there used to be?
I know the exact reason why there's not. When I was over there, I mean, they was bringing Americans strong, heavy. Noah was bringing them. Big Japan was bringing them. You know, all the companies was bringing Japanese, American wrestlers over there. But here is the problem, and I understand it, but I hate it all in the same scenario. So many guys here's dream was to wrestle in Japan. And I'm going to go ahead and call it out for Big Japan. Jakara guys started flying themselves over and only getting 4,000 yen a match, which is the equivalent of $40 a match. I don't know how they was living over there, because I'm getting, we'll say 300 American a match. I don't know how they was living on $40 a match over there, but I get it. Everybody's dream is to wrestle in Japan. But so many guys started figuring out, I can wrestle in Japan if I fly myself over. So more wrestlers started doing it at other companies. And next thing you know, the guys that they were flying over for good money aren't as important anymore. And I get it on both sides, all right? Japanese companies did it to save money, and that's a business thing. Wrestlers started flying over there to wrestle in Japan, and that's a dream thing. But they just didn't realize how bad they was fucking up the other wrestlers that was going back and forth to Japan all the time. And really, I don't think they would have cared as long as they got to wrestle in Japan. But are you catching the scenario I'm talking about, and why I feel they don't bring as many Americans over anymore?
Yeah, and the quality of the wrestlers is probably lower, so it makes the demand for Americans by the fans lower, I guess, too.
Exactly. I mean, you know, if you can fly, you know, if Handjob Joe can fly himself to Japan and have a match and fulfill his dream, but Handjob Joe is not a very good wrestler, then why would they bring other Americans over? You know, it was just a process of I mean, the minute they said Jakara was flying their own guys over there, I knew that was going to be the fault of Americans in Japan, and sure enough, I was right.
Now, I noticed on your Wikipedia that you held the Ohio Valley Wrestling Southern Tag Team Championships in the past, and I was wondering what your thoughts are of Al Snow buying Ohio Valley since you live in Louisville.
Whoever would have thought Madman Pondo would be an OVW? I get that part. And when I would go there, I like all them guys, don't get me wrong, but they would already act like they've made it, you know, to WWE, and they haven't. But I was really cool with all them guys, and of course, when I was going there, me and Dapper Dan and Scarlett and the Dog and another guy, I can't even remember another guy, his name's Dave, but we was the Circus, and you know, that was a good time over in OVW, and they put that belt on me. But now that Al is there, I see Al controlling the situation a lot better than what it was with the guys, you know, thinking that they've already made it. I can see Al being like, no, you haven't made it anywhere, do it this way. You know, I think Al going over to OVW, I think that's a good thing for the company. It's not that it wasn't a good thing when Cornette and Paul Heyman went there, but those guys were both managers, very well-respected managers. Al Snow is a very well-respected wrestler, so I think the wrestlers got to teach the wrestlers better than what the managers could, is what I'm trying to get across.
Right. And have you had much contact with Jim Cornette over the years?
For the longest time, because I was associated with Ian Rotten, Jim Cornette did not like me at all. And then one time, Gary Dameron out of ASW, he booked me and Man Scout Jake Manning versus Viper and Dennis Condrey. And sure enough, the manager was Jim Cornette, and I'm like, holy shit! I know I'm getting ready to get one of them Jim Cornette speeches in the back, you know. And but but nothing was farther from the truth. I went out there, and it's not like I started doing death matches. I was a wrestler first. So I wrestled with Dennis Condrey. I made him look good. Dennis Condrey made me look good. And at the end, I'm sitting there, and I'm watching Jim Cornette come toward me, and I'm like, holy shit, here it comes. And Jim holds his hand out, and he says, Pondo, I didn't even know you could wrestle, and shook my hand. A lot of people wouldn't think that was a compliment. It was a compliment to me, and I shook his hand. I said, thank you very much.
And I've heard that he dislikes Ian Rotten, and a lot of other people do. I'm not that familiar with him other than what I've seen of him in ECW on various DVDs, but why do so many people dislike him?
Just like Ian or Jim Cornette?
Ian Rotten, yeah.
Ian, well, Ian does things to us to get people to not like him, and I'm not here to talk shit on Ian. I mean, there would be no Madman Pondo today without Ian Rotten, but I will tell you why Jim Cornette does not like Ian, because we were going into National Guard armories, and, we was doing our style of wrestling, and next thing I know, the National Guard armory said, okay, no more wrestling in the National Guard armories in Indiana and Kentucky. Not just Ian's wrestling, any wrestling. And I guess Jim Cornette was doing a lot of business with Smoky Mountain in those National Guard armories. And then when it came out that there was no more wrestling in the National Guard armories, of course, that was because of Ian Rotten and one Madman Pondo, and that's where the hate from Jim Cornette started on Ian.
Okay, I see. Now, you wrestled Terry Funk when you won the Juggalo Championship Wrestling title. What are your memories of him over the years? I'm sure you've had numerous contact with him.
Yeah, we're pretty good friends, and we still talk on the phone every once in a while, but that day, I can't even explain to you the joy and happiness in my heart that not only did I wrestle Terry Funk, but I won the JCW title off of him, and that was his decision to do that. And I'll tell you a quick story. You ever been around Terry before?
Yes.
Nice guy, great guy. But he pulled one over on me that was pretty good. He said, hey, when we fight out in the crowd, let's make sure that we hit each other really hard. That way they know that we're legit. I'm like, all right, cool. So sure enough, he throws me over to the crowd. He grabs me by my hair, and he says, you want me to hit the son of a bitch? And, of course, they all said yeah. And he gave me a good one, that put the purple spots in front of your eyes. And I was like, oh, shit, that was pretty solid. But then I got my senses back, and I was like, oh, yeah, I'm supposed to hit him too. And I turned around to punch Terry, and he's climbing over the guardrail getting back in the ring. I was like, that motherfucker, he got me. But Terry Funk is such a class act. He has been doing this so long that he doesn't even have to be in the ring to tell guys, hey, this is what you're doing wrong. I would drive 500 miles just to sit and have a conversation with Terry Funk.
Now, in all the hardcore matches you've had and the dangerous matches you've had over the years, what's the worst injury that you've had in the ring?
One time, a guy named Pete Madden was doing a moonsault off the guardrail, and I heard his shoe squeak as he was jumping off. So when he was doing the moonsault, he was coming head first down to the floor. So I knew he was getting ready to get fucked up pretty bad. So I took 2 steps forward, caught him in air, and when I did, it knocked me back onto the ring post, and there was a bolt sticking out of the bottom of the ring post. And I didn't just land flat on it. I slid into it, and it cut my skull pretty bad, probably all the way down to the skull. And instead of going to the doctor and getting it fixed, I super glued it shut, which left me dizzy for about 2 months. And then the other one was the bed of pencils. That was 6 days of agony. Like, I still have graphite you can see in my back. I have a scar near my asshole that looks like a purple shit stain that I hate for girls to see. And it was just 6 days of nothing but laying in bed in agony off of those pencils. So that was the two most painful things that I've done in my wrestling career. Which, if you think about it, if there's only two things, I'm doing all right for myself.
Yeah, that's not bad at all, considering all the dangerous matches you've been involved with. So I guess you avoided getting addicted to various pain pills and stuff over the years because you weren't injured that much.
You can ask all my friends. I'm afraid of pain pills. Like I don't know what they'll do to me. And I told you about my skull, and everybody tried to give me pain pills, and I'm like, no, I don't want them. Finally, Too Tough Tony said, smoke a joint, and I said no. If I don't want pain pills, I don't want a joint. And he was like, no, I'm telling you the truth. You won't get addicted, and it'll calm your pain. So I did. I smoked a joint, and it did. So I smoked weed for about, 2.5 months, and then when my pain was gone, I stopped smoking weed. But I was so afraid. You're in the business, when guys start on those pain pills, they get addicted, and next thing you know, it becomes their life, and I didn't want that. So I smoked that weed for 2.5 months, and I'm done with it. And I've been one of the lucky ones. Like, I don't drink, I don't pop pills, I don't do anything. And I don't know. I'm 49 and I'm still going, so I guess I'm doing something right.
So do you want to tell us again, as we wrap this up, some details about what people can expect in your book for people who want to pick it up on Amazon?
I told John Cosper this, the guy who wrote the book. I told him, I said, I don't want it just to be a wrestling book. So we did, there's me having sex with Bridget the Midget in there. There's the Marilyn Manson, Vicks Vapor Rub and our Tear Ducts challenge. There's saving Jamie Dundee and Wolfie D from going to jail. There's just so many entertaining, funny stories in here. And people who's read the book, to review to me so far is there's so many laugh out loud moments in this book that it makes it that much better that it's not just a wrestling book. There's a story in there about the junkyard dog that I didn't tell anybody over the years, but I finally put in the book. There's so much stuff, and you can pick that book up again at Amazon.com. It's called Memoirs of a Madman, or you can contact John Cosper at EatSleepWrestle.com, who will sell you just a copy of the book or a personalized autographed copy of the book.
And we recently interviewed David Schultz, a video interview, and to prepare for that, I read his book, and it was a great book, so I'm sure if it's the same guy writing yours, that it's probably very well written. And I know you have Facebook, do you have any social media that you want to plug for people listening to this?
I own my own all-girls wrestling company. I've been doing that for about 5 years now. So you can also reach me at Girl Fight Wrestling on Facebook. And my other Facebook is Kevin Kennedy, Canady.
How do you find
2 ways you can get a hold of me.
How do you find dealing with the girls? Because I find in our company, Great North Wrestling, over the years, the female wrestlers can be more difficult to deal with than the males at times.
Well, imagine a whole show of them.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, girls will cancel on you for no reason whatsoever, where guys will at least give you some kind of excuse. The prep time of, hey, it's time to do your photo shoot. Oh, I'm not ready yet. I haven't done my eyebrows. Just normal things that guys don't give two shits about, girls do. So it's a lot more difficult, but it's a challenge, and I love a challenge. So we just did 2 shows for Girl Fight that I'm pretty proud of. One is Midnight Girl Fight, where I think I'm the only promotion to do this. I may be wrong, but I haven't heard of one. We promoted a show that started at midnight, and we had about 90 paid, which was pretty good for us, so we're going to do another one. And we just had, in Summit, Illinois, for Resistance Pro, we had an all-girls deathmatch tournament called Death Becomes Her, and both of those are available on highspots.com, but I'm pretty proud of all the girls. All of them work hard. We've had over 100 girls work for us, and only one has had a problem with the promotion, so that's also pretty good. And, yeah, check out Girl Fight on Facebook.
And finally, for your contact with Marilyn Manson, I'm a fan of his. I'm just wondering, was that through the Juggalos, too, that you met him?
That was not. That was through Billy Corgan. Like I just told you, I was wrestling for Resistance Pro, and Billy Corgan was a big part of that. So when I found out that he was on the road with Marilyn Manson, I asked him if there was any way I could come and watch the show. Well, Billy gave me early VIP tickets to see his acoustic show. He gave me 2 armbands and told me to make sure that I came back after the show. And not only was I rubbing elbows, legit rubbing elbows, because there wasn't that much room at the table with Marilyn Manson, but Twiggy Ramirez was also on the other elbow, and I'm sitting in the middle of them. And that's probably one of the best days of my life. But like you said, that story's in the book. I'd rather you read the book and everybody give me their reviews on it. But, yeah, that's how I met Marilyn Manson, through Billy Corgan.
And since you bring up Billy Corgan, I got to ask you what you think of him taking over the NWA and trying to get the NWA title over again.
Well, this is just my opinion. I'm sure I'm going to get hate out of it, but to me, the NWA had died a long time ago. And with people just buying the name, people would rent the NWA name. That meant something to them, but to wrestling fans, I don't think that the NWA name meant shit to anybody. But now there's a big hype about it because Billy Corgan now owns NWA, so now the name's coming back up. So let's hope in the years to come that Billy will be able to pull something off. And as far as I'm concerned, he's done a great job so far, so let's see how it goes next time me and you talk.
Could we see you challenging for the title in the future since you're friends with him?
Hey, I'm down for whatever. People are, I'm 49 now, so people don't really call me as much as they do. People will say, hey, what promotion you working at this week? And I'll say, whoever says yes.
That's great. Well, best of luck with your book, and thanks for talking to us. And finally, again, pick it up on Amazon.com, Memories of a Madman.
Memoirs, yep.
Memoirs of a Madman, okay.
All right, buddy. Thank you. You rock, man.
Thank you for listening to the Great North Wrestling Podcast. Subscribe to this podcast on iTunes and subscribe to the Hannibal TV on YouTube for all the latest G&W news and videos. Follow at Devin Hannibal on Twitter and check out our website at thehannibaltv.com.